Hi everyone, this is St. Michael. Welcome to St. Michael's Ministries. Today I would like to talk about something that is of concern to me. It's people judging other people. And before I get started today, I would like to read to you 2 Samuel chapter 6. And I'm going to sound silly pronouncing some of these names because they're difficult for me to pronounce, so please bear with me. Verse 1. Again, David gathered together all the chosen men of Israel, 30,000. And David arose and went with all the people that were with him from Baal of Judah to bring up from thence the ark of God, whose name is called by the name of the Lord of hosts, that dwelleth between the cherubim. And they set the ark of God upon a new cart, and brought it out of the house of Abinadab, that was in Gibeah. And Uzzah and Ahio, the sons of Abinadab, drave the new cart. Verse 4. And they brought it out of the house of Abinadab, which was at Gibeah, accompanying the ark of God, and Ahio went before the ark. I take this to mean that the person got in front of the ark. This was sort of like a procession, you could say. Verse 5. And David and all the house of Israel played before the Lord on all manner of instruments made of fir wood, even on harps, and on psalteries, and on timbrels, and on cornets, and on cymbals. It was a celebration. They had it was a celebration they were having that day. Verse 6. And when they came to Nechon's threshing floor, Uzzah put forth his hand to the ark of God, and took hold of it, for the oxen shook it. And I take it that it was Uzzah's intention to steady the ark, but apparently, this might not have been a good idea. Because it says in verse 7, And the anger of the Lord was kindled against Uzzah, and God smote him there for his error, and there he died by the ark of God. Apparently, touching the ark was a no-no. Verse 8. And David was displeased, because the Lord had made a breach upon Uzzah, and he called the name of the place Perez Uzzah to this day. And David was afraid of the Lord that day, and said, How shall the ark of the Lord come to me? So David would not remove the ark of the Lord unto him into the city of David, but David carried it aside into the house of Obed-Edom the Gittite. And the ark of the Lord continued in the house of Obed-Edom the Gittite 3 months, and the Lord blessed Obed-Edom and all his household. And it was told King David, saying, The Lord hath blessed the house of Obed-Edom and all that pertaineth unto him, because of the ark of God. So David went and brought up the ark of God from the house of Obed-Edom into the city of David with gladness. See that? He was happy. He was happy to do it. It was with gladness. And it was so that when they that bare the ark of the Lord had gone 6 paces, he sacrificed oxen and fatlings. Bear as in, I guess they were holding it, transporting it, In verse 14. And David danced before the Lord with all his might, and David was girded with a linen ephod. I'm going to guess that's a type of garment. I don't know exactly what type of garment it is, so I can't help you with that there, but David was so happy. He was dancing. You know, he was having a time of his life, and he was rejoicing. So David and all the house of Israel brought up the ark of the Lord with shouting and with the sound of the trumpet. And they had, you know, all sorts of instruments. They were partying like it was, you know, the best thing since sliced bread. And it was because, you know, the ark of God, that was literally, you know, the best thing to come their way in a very long time. And as the ark of the Lord came into the city of David, Michal, Saul's daughter, looked through a window and saw King David leaping and dancing before the Lord, and she despised him in her heart. Oh my gosh, have you ever heard of somebody like that? Sounds like a religious person, doesn't it? Oh, look at what they're doing! Look how they're dancing! Oh my goodness! Can you believe they're behaving that way? That's a king, for crying out loud! That's our king! And he's acting like an idiot! But she despised him in her heart because, I guess, you know, at that time in history, women didn't say much, or they weren't allowed to say much. Whatever it is, so this woman did not approve of what King David was doing. Now, verse 17. And they brought into the ark of the Lord, and set it in his place in the midst of the tabernacle that David had pitched for it. And David offered burnt offerings and peace offerings before the Lord. And as soon as David had made an end of offering burnt offerings and peace offerings, he blessed the people in the name of the Lord of hosts. And he dealt among the people, even among the whole multitude of Israel, as well to the women as men, to everyone a cake of bread, and a good piece of flesh, and a flagon of wine. So all the people departed, everyone to his house. It sounds like, to me, basically, hey, thank you for coming and partying with me. Here's a little snack that you can have to eat on while you head home. Again, thank you for coming. Something like that. And in verse 20, then David returned to bless his household, and Michal, the daughter of Saul, came out to meet David, and said, How glorious was the king of Israel today, who uncovered himself today in the eyes of the handmaids of his servants, as one of the vain fellows shamelessly uncovereth himself! Exclamation mark. Apparently this woman was making some charges against him that he was naked. And that's what it sounds like he was. He was. He was a naked King David, apparently. In verse 21, and David said to Michal, It was before the Lord, which chose me before thy father, and before all his house, to appoint me ruler over the people of the Lord, over Israel. Therefore I will play before the Lord. So King David's saying to this woman, Look, the Lord picked me, and I'm happy, I'm joyful, I'm rejoicing because of everything that's going on today. So why are you giving me some flack? And in verse 22 it says, And I will yet be more vile than thus, and will be base in mine own sight, and of the maidservants which thou hast spoken of, them shall I be had in honor. So he's basically saying to this woman, Michal, look, if I want to dance naked in honor to the Lord, then I'm going to dance naked in honor to the Lord. At least that's how it sounds to me. And last verse 23. Therefore Michal, the daughter of Saul, had no child unto the day of her death. That means this woman, she never had a kid because she questioned the king of Israel, King David, the man that God had appointed to rule over Israel. So, back then, you had to be careful what you said to the king. And we don't have a king today, but you get my drift. Now, the reason I read this chapter in the Old Testament is to point out something. The woman Michal was being very religious, you could say, to King David, was basically saying, you are our king and yet you're acting like this? King, you're acting like an idiot. You're naked, for crying out loud. The woman was condemning him at every turn. And to this day, we still have the same stuff going on. People who claim to be professing Christians, and I use the word professing because, sometimes we question them because of what they do. Professing Christians often, it seems, condemn other people, and that's just not right. And that is something the Lord frowns on. And even Paul, our apostle, talks about in his writings.